Hi, and welcome to NF Stories Live, a show that shares people's journey of living with neurofibromatosis. I'm your host, Brandy, and on today's episode, I get to sit down with Sheena, a wife and a mother of two girls, one who has neurofibromatosis. Welcome, Sheena. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi.
How about we start with how your daughter was diagnosed,
Um,
how that all started.
when she was little, probably like 6 months, I noticed, maybe 7 or 8 months actually, I noticed that she couldn't crawl and that she was struggling a lot with um, like moving around. Basically, she'd just sit on the floor and not do much else. And I felt like other people I had met with babies at that age were trying to learn to move and stuff. And I got concerned, but the doctor told me that I was just, being, um, that I was worrying too much. And then when she was about a year, um, she wasn't really trying to walk. She still couldn't crawl, and it was like she would do this like scoot sometimes and then go somewhere and pull herself up, but like she just looked awkward when she tried to walk while holding on to things, and she
Yeah.
still wasn't really talking. And um again, I asked the doctor, and he told me that she'll learn on her own and that everything was fine. But by about 2.5, when I realized she could barely say like words, and we ended up teaching her sign language so we could communicate with her.
Mhm.
Um, I I kind of put my foot down and said that I needed more answers and that this isn't just slow learning. Like I knew there was more. She was walking at that point, but she never looked like she was never very like um balanced or um I don't know, it was just different. She was just different. And finally he sent us to a pediatrician when she was 3, I believe it was. And the pediatrician sat her down in the chair and did the whole, doctor checkup thing. And then she came in the office and told me to sit down, and she said, I don't want to diagnose your daughter without sending her to get proper testing, but I'm 99% sure she has something called neurofibromatosis. And at first, I was like, my stomach felt sick, right? Because I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it ever before.
Yeah.
And she said that usually that it's a genetic disorder, that, and she just explained things to us and told me that to wait till genetic testing at Children's contacted us and got her for sure before we got scared, like in case it wasn't that, and not to Google it. But whoever tells you not to do something, you do it.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
So, yeah, it kind of started there. Unfortunately, it took probably another year before we finally got the appointment at Children's and got the actual diagnosis. But through that year, we were with having multiple appointments at the pediatrician, we were pretty sure that's what it was at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't get the confirmation for another year till she was probably about 4.
before. And by then, when you were saying you guys already through seeing the pediatrician, were pretty sure what other things were coming up that made it more obvious that she had NF.
So she said that one of the signs um, for NF were the cafe latte spots and an enlarged head, and she had an over average size head, and she had a lot of cafe latte spots
Yeah.
um, all over her body, and we found more appeared as things time went on as well. Um, she still struggled with her speech big time. Most people couldn't understand her still, and
Yeah.
she was a little bit like uh, I don't want to say, I hate the word slow, but she was a little bit behind in socially and stuff. So it was just those things that made the doctor, the pediatrician, feel like that she had an F.
Yeah.
Did end up seeing um, multiple specialists. We saw a eye doctor who confirmed that she had the spots on her iris, and
Okay.
he said that we would keep checking them every year to see if they are causing any problems in her vision. One of her eyes was a little bit lazier than the other. Um, uh, but yeah, that was like, I mean, she ended up we got her into a occupational therapist and a physical therapist and a speech therapist. So
Nice.
she was doing that 3 times a week.
So you had those supports going for her as she was
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah. So it was really good to have such a good pediatrician that helped us figure out what we could do to help her.
Got you all set up with the right supports.
Yeah. Genetic testing really, uh, it's funny because you would think it would be such a big like deal hearing them say like, yeah, okay, she has it, but I think we all knew that before we even had the genetic testing, and it it we were already like had so much stuff in place already that it was just like, yeah, okay, we drove out here to tell us what we already knew.
They just check that box, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. But at the same time, it was kind of nice to just have that confirmation and know that I wasn't like diagnosing my daughter with something she didn't have, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That confirming of that. Yeah.
Well, and I've asked some questions because like part of me secretly for a year thought that it was something I did in my pregnancy that made it happen this way, and because it didn't make sense to me that it's supposed to be genetic and my husband doesn't have it and I don't have it and my our parents don't have it, and so they're telling me it's genetic but that no one else has it, but that it just happens sometimes like a mutation they called it, but but there was nothing I could have done differently to make it not happen, but I didn't feel that way. So
Yeah.
that was hard for a good year. The genetic specialist, pretty much convinced me otherwise. So that was nice.
It's nice to have that comfort knowing that it wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
My.
and it made me feel less crazy too because I know like it took multiple appointments just for that family doctor to send us to a pediatrician in the first place because he kept just saying that I was comparing her to my friends' kids too much and that it was and that she would learn it all on her own time. But it wasn't about that. Like I could see that she was trying and it just wasn't connecting, and at that age it shouldn't be that hard for her.
Yeah.
And so I knew there was something preventing it preventing her from doing the same things as those kids.
Yeah. That mother intuition kind of really kicked in. Yeah. But that's really good that you advocated for that. Um, what would you say, like, from then to now? What has her journey been like from your diagnosis to where she is now? Has
Um, well, like she continued speech therapy up until she went into middle school.
Okay.
Um, uh, we've kind of got to the point where she's pretty like everyone can understand her now. She just doesn't have the best pronunciation with certain sounds, but but it's not significant enough that people can't understand her. So
Okay.
like we work on it with her, but she's also 13 now. So like what 13-year-old wants to practice how she says certain words.
Yeah.
Um, but she has um, uh, over the years has grown some subcutaneous neurofibromas.
Okay.
Um, None of them are very big or hurt her or anything like that. They look like little like moles or whatever, but they're not brown under the skin.
Okay.
Um, she has two tumors though. She has one on her optic nerve, so an optic nerve glioma
Okay.
on her um, right eye, which causes it to be a bit lazy. We tried. glasses for quite a few years to try and help make the eye stronger, but
Okay.
and it did help a little bit. But at this point, we stopped seeing a significant any difference, and she never like she doesn't really have problems with vision, so she didn't want to wear the glasses because she didn't see a difference in vision when she wore them or when she didn't.
Okay.
So she's pretty much stopped wearing glasses now. We still try and encourage her that it might help her eye, but the optometrist at Children's said that he's not too worried about it. So we're not we're just letting her be her. But she has another new brain tumor, but it's not. It's like they called it a brain tumor at first, but we found out on her last MRI it's actually like on the skull, not really on the brain.
Okay.
But it's not growing. So they're said that it's okay if we wait to do another MRI for 2 years now instead of 1 year.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that was good news because at first they told us it was a brain tumor, and then they said no, actually it's on the outside of the skull. So,
Okay.
so that was good news to hear. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect her. We always make sure we watch for headaches or anything like that, right? But she's gotten pretty lucky in all sense of, because I've been through I've done a lot of research on NF and gone to all the symposiums and whatnot and stuff. So I see that how much it can affect people. So when we think about, even though she has tumors and some learning disabilities and speech issues, and it took her a really long time to do things, and we're still pretty lucky. Like
Yeah.
she didn't learn to ride a bike till 2 summers ago, so when she was 10.
Yeah.
And it still was really hard for her until this summer.
Yeah.
Um, so just like at first it was hard for me to watch her struggle with that, but now that she rides it, it's like nothing, right?
Yeah.
um,
You just keep supporting her, right? And you, yeah.
yeah, I mean, things are, I feel like, are always going to be more difficult for her because of NF, but I just tell her, like, just because they're harder for you doesn't mean you'll never do them. It just means you have to work harder at it than other people. And yeah, it sucks sometimes, but at least you can do it. You just have to work harder.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. That's awesome. What would you say is her biggest challenge right now that she's facing, or that you're facing as a family?
Puberty? No. Honest, honestly, our biggest challenge lately hasn't. I wouldn't even blame it on NF. It would be just her being a 13-year-old girl and going through puberty and hormones right now. I think that's pretty normal with any 13-year-old girl, and it probably has nothing to do with NF. I know that like Cheyenne has sensory processing disorder, and so
Okay.
things are harder for her in that sense too. So when we go for like MRIs, she loves MRIs, but then if she has to have an IV, like that's really hard for her because it's people have to touch her more, and she just doesn't like being touched very much, and like
Yeah.
and being being her age, like she should be uh like I don't I shouldn't say she should be, but a lot of 13-year-old girls are worrying about their hair and stuff, and she couldn't care less about brushing her hair because it's never been a comfortable thing for her.
Uh,
So
yeah.
like things like that are not exactly easy for her, but one thing that's awesome is Cheyenne's never let anyone tell her how she should be,
Oh,
or
that's awesome.
like get like she always says, I like who I am. If they don't like it, who cares? And so I've always been very grateful that she has that type of look on life. And I definitely find it makes it easier for her right now being a teenager.
Yeah. So
Um,
you haven't found anything like they say with for us women, puberty or having a child with NF can sometimes exacerbate. I'm saying that
Right.
word wrong.
And
The
and
symptoms. You haven't found anything like that with for her.
no, and that was the thing. Like her doctor said that too, and we were like worried that maybe like some of the tumors would grow or something while she's going through puberty. She did end up getting, while she was going through puberty, another tumor on her foot, but
Okay.
it's on the top of her foot. And it's just like a bubble, and it's
Okay.
squishy, and it
Oh.
doesn't hurt her. It and we just find that it's harder for her to fit certain shoes now because of it.
Okay.
So that happened while she was going through puberty, but I mean, like, it's just like a jelly bubble on her foot. It's not hurting her, right?
Yeah.
So we've been pretty lucky with um, the very little changes that have happened besides hormonally, uh, emotionally, I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. What would you say has been your best resource that's helped you along so far on this journey?
Um, well, like my pediatrician's been awesome, but I definitely think I've learned the most and felt the most like part of something, or like, and like I wasn't alone by going to all those BC Tumor Foundation things we've done, like the auctions and the symposiums we did before COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty nice when you have a community like that. That. Yeah.
It helped me and my husband tremendously, feeling like we were a part of a community and it wasn't just us, because we knew no one or and nothing of that disorder before. So when we got some, I don't even remember how we got in contact with Desiree, but when we started talking to her and then becoming part of the foundation and stuff, and it was relief big time.
Yeah. That support is, I have to say, even for me, has made a huge difference finding
Yeah,
it. Right.
yeah.
Um, what do you wish you would have known when you first started out?
Um, I can say that, at I was a young mom. I was only 23 years old when I had Cheyenne, and so for the first year of her life, I would get very frustrated because I always felt like I was doing something wrong. Um, she never really learned to breastfeed properly, and we struggled with finding. She was very colicky at first, but it wasn't even colic. It was just she wasn't like eating properly. She couldn't. Her palate wasn't strong enough to suck, and so
Yeah.
it took like a long time to figure out what to do to make things work, and it was a struggle. And I just maybe wish I could have been. I want to say maybe more mature and more experienced in life, so I could have helped my baby be less struggle less. But at the same time, no matter what age you're at, I think as a brand new parent, you struggle, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I blame it on just being a 23-year-old mom and knowing nothing, but who knows,
Yeah. You learn and grow with each.
right?
Right. Yeah.
It's even if I was a 30-year-old mom having a baby for the first time, it doesn't mean I would know what NF was and what to do, right?
Well, speaking of which, I had Tyler when I was 30 something. And he was my third. And I had the same thing. He went breastfeed. He was colicky. And I'm going, what am I doing wrong? And this was my third child.
You're
So,
like, I've already done this 2 times before. What am I doing wrong with this one? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you weren't alone by any means. But I know at the time you probably felt that way for sure.
Yeah, oh, big time. And I didn't have a lot of friends with kids. I didn't really have any friends with kids. I just started making them when I had the kid. I made new friends, mommy friends,
Yeah.
So, and then I started comparing my kid to their kids, and then I felt like, oh, what's wrong with my kid? And yeah, it was hard. It was like it was like being in high school again in a weird way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. it's not the same. But I don't know how else to explain it. But you just feel like judged all the time,
You're
right?
not fitting
And
in and you're not
right,
meeting those
right.
things. Yeah.
And that's how I felt in high school. So it was kind of like that again. I
Yeah.
think part of me did have some postpartum. I never got diagnosed, but I definitely think there was some there because I remember a lot of nights waking up and just crying because I thought I was failing because she was just crying and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I
Yeah.
had no idea how to help her.
How to get through that. Yeah.
So
Um, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned on your NF journey so far?
um, that you can't to take it day by day and not try and predict the future or guess what's going to happen or think about all the bad things that could happen because you don't really know. You
Yeah.
can't, like, of course, when she was diagnosed, all I could think about is her being covered in tumors and never living a normal life. But I knew that if that's the way I thought all the time, she was going to get that feelings from me and I wasn't going to help her become the person she could become. And so I knew I needed to stay positive and just take everything day by day as it came. And
Awesome.
I am thankful that I learned that during the journey and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's obviously working when she's saying, you like me for who I am or not, right? So you've done an amazing job. So,
Well, I don't know what I did to be honest. I always just say to her that I because I wasn't like that as a kid, so I always say that you're everything I wish I could have been as a kid, and I'm so proud of you. I don't know what I did to make you that way, but something good happened. So
I think it was just that. I think it was you just loving on her, right? Supporting her and letting her know that she's just as she is, right? And you love her and support
I
her in
did
any
tell
way.
her, yeah, I did tell her all the time that you have to, that who cares what people think of you, just do what makes you happy. So that definitely sunk in.
That's wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. So one last question as we finish up here, and I don't want to take up your whole evening.
Mm.
If you could design an NF billboard, what would you put on it?
Like a billboard on the
Like when you're
on the
driving down the road, or you see those billboards.
hard one.
Tough question.
Well, like I just every time I tell someone that I have a daughter with NF or and then they ask what NF is and I say it, they're like, "What?" Like not a single person I've ever met knows what it is unless they have someone in their family with it, which doesn't happen quite often unless I'm, you know, at a thing, of course. So like I just wish more people were aware of it, but then at the same time when they are aware of it, I don't want them to think that they have to treat her different just because she has it, right? She doesn't
Yeah.
like to be treated different. So, like, she understands that she's different and she's okay with being different, but that doesn't mean you need to treat her like she's a baby or something. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
like, I don't know what I put on the billboard, but maybe, like, I don't know. Uh, find out more about NF by I don't know. Maybe it'd be like a thing where you could give people a website to look at to find out more about it instead of judging what
Yeah.
from what they see or something, because I know there's people with NF who do have a lot of um, cutaneous tumors, and then people judge them or look at them funny because they don't understand what it is or they think it's contagious. And I that breaks my heart like
Yeah.
so much. And I wish people would understand more what NF is so they aren't so judgmental and have more of an understanding. I
Yeah.
just think that everyone should know what NF is so they're not naive or ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah. They instantly judge. Yeah. Very
I
sad. Yeah.
mean, there's always going to be people in the world that instantly judge no matter what, but I feel like the more knowledge you have, the less judgmental you are, or
Yeah.
the
No.
less you are.
Yeah. Knowledge is power for sure.
Yes. Yes. Maybe
Yeah.
it could say neurofibromatosis, knowledge is powered, and then the website.
There you go. There we
Look,
go.
we made a billboard together.
Yay! Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much, Sheena, for joining me today. And hopefully, we'll get to talk sometime soon, face to face.
Yeah, for sure. I miss our BC Tumor Foundation events so much. I hope one day we can go back to doing those.
Yes, that would be awesome. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Bye for
Thanks.
now.
Bye.